No Coast Guard, no radar, no international law. Just endless ocean, and ships carrying fortunes in silver, gold, spices, and secrets. For Spain, these waters were the lifeline of an empire. For everyone else, they were an opportunity. And among the hundreds of pirates who hunted those seas, one man would become famous not because he buried treasure, but because he stole something even more valuable: knowledge. This is the story of Bartholomew Sharp. Before we meet Sharp, we need to understand the world that created him. It's the late 17th century. Europe is locked in an endless rivalry for power. Spain controls enormous colonies stretching from Mexico to Peru, shipping unimaginable wealth back across the Atlantic. English, French, and Dutch governments officially condemn piracy, while quietly encouraging men known as privateers to attack Spanish shipping whenever it suited their political interests. The line between pirate and patriot was incredibly thin. One year you could be celebrated as a hero, the next hunted as a criminal. Bartholomew Sharp lived almost entirely in that gray area. There is very little known about his early life. Historians aren't even certain where he was born. What we do know is that by the 1670s, Sharp had founded his way into the dangerous world of buccaneers operating around the Caribbean. These weren't the romantic pirates of modern movies. These were hardened survivors. Many had escaped poverty. Some were former sailors abandoned by their employers. Others were soldiers with no wars left to fight. Together, they formed temporary crews driven by one simple goal: get rich or die trying. Sharp proved himself capable enough to rise through the ranks, but history truly remembers him because of one extraordinary expedition. In 1680, a group of roughly 300 buccaneers launched one of the boldest pirate campaigns ever attempted. Instead of simply attacking ships in the Caribbean, they decided to invade the Pacific Ocean. At the time, this was almost unimaginable. Spain believed the Pacific coast of South America was naturally protected. Most enemy fleets couldn't even reach it. But the pirates had another plan. They crossed the Isthmus of Panama on foot. Dense jungle, swamps, disease, hostile Spanish patrols. The journey itself was nearly as dangerous as the battles that followed. When they finally reached the Pacific, they captured local boats, built up their small fleet, and began terrorizing cities and shipping that had rarely seen enemy sails. For the Spanish, it was a nightmare. Entire ports believed they were safe. Then pirate ships appeared on the horizon. One captain after another fell victim to surprise attacks. Treasure disappeared, settlements burned, panic spread along thousands of miles of coastline. Leadership among pirates was never stable. Captains were elected. If crews lost confidence, they could simply vote someone out. Sharp himself would gain command, lose it, and later regain it after proving his courage in battle. It was democracy, just, with far more guns. One of Sharp's greatest victories came when his crew captured the Spanish ship El Santo Rosario. The prize wasn't just a valuable cargo. The ship carried experienced navigators, intelligence, and information about the Spanish operations throughout the Pacific. Every successful capture made the pirates stronger. Every Spanish defeat made the future attacks easier. But Sharp's greatest prize wasn't silver. It wasn't gold. It wasn't jewels. It was paper. During one raid, Sharp acquired an incredibly detailed Spanish navigation book containing charts of the Pacific coastline. To most pirates, it might have looked like an ordinary collection of maps, but it wasn't. Spain had spent generations charting these waters, harbors, currents, safe anchorages, hazards, trade routes. Much of this information was considered one of the Empire's greatest military secrets. Sharp had accidentally captured something equivalent to classified intelligence. When he eventually returned to England, these charts became enormously valuable. English mapmakers studied them carefully. Explorers benefited from them immensely. Military planners gained insight into waters that had previously been poorly understood. One pirate raid quietly shifted the balance of the geographic knowledge between rival empires. It's difficult to measure exactly how much influence those charts had, but historians agree that they represented one of the greatest intelligence prizes ever captured by a pirate. Ironically, Sharp's greatest weapon wasn't his sword, it was information. Of course, piracy rarely ends peacefully. As Sharp sailed back towards the Atlantic, his crew fractured. Arguments over leadership became common, discipline weakened, some pirates deserted, others sought their own fortunes elsewhere. Eventually, Sharp returned to England. Instead of receiving a hero's welcome, he faced accusations of piracy. This was the constant risk for men like him. Governments loved pirates, right up until diplomacy became more important than plunder. Sharp was put on trial, and the evidence against him looked overwhelming. He captured Spanish ships, witnesses, years of raiding, but politics once again stepped in. England and Spain's relationship was complicated, and Sharp's supporters argued many of his actions had occurred while effectively serving English interests. Incredibly, he avoided execution. Many of his fellow pirates weren't nearly so fortunate. After escaping the gallows, Sharp faded from history. There are scattered records suggesting he later received naval responsibilities and continued serving England in various capacities. Eventually, the man who had once terrorized Spanish waters simply disappears from the historical records. No legendary final battle, no dramatic treasure hunt, no confirmed burial site, just silence. Today, Bartholomew Sharp isn't as famous as Blackbeard or as Captain Kidd. He didn't cultivate an unforgettable image. He didn't leave behind dramatic legends. But his story reveals something far more fascinating about the real golden age of piracy. Pirates weren't merely thieves. They were explorers. They were mercenaries, political tools, intelligence gatherers, sometimes even accidental agents of history. Sharp didn't just steal treasure. He stole knowledge that helped rival nations navigate an entire ocean. And in an age where information could be worth more than gold, that may have been the greatest piracy heist of them all. So the next time you imagine pirates searching for buried treasure, remember Bartholomew Sharp, because one of history's most successful pirates didn't change the world with a chest of gold. He changed it with a book of maps.